This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast. It's time for that mailbag here on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. And there's a lot to get to tonight. You guys did not make it easy on my day before vacation. So I will probably be more brief than usual in my responses. I haven't even started packing. I'm that guy, right? It's kind of like when Christmas rolls around every year and I say, I'm not going to do Christmas presents last minute. I'm going to start shopping in October, November. And what the hell do I do? You know, Christmas week, I'm like, oh crap, right? I don't know if it's just being a dude where we can only focus on one thing at a time or whatever it is. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for joining us here on the WWE Podcast. It's time for the mailbag. As always, go ad free if you don't want to have to skip through the ads or suffer through the ads. There's an easy way to do it for $1 a month on patreon.com/WWE Podcast or Apple Podcasts for a 1-week free trial, or our website, wwepodcast.com. All right, let's start with someone new, someone I haven't heard from in a while. And I don't know if this is meant for the mailbag. I'm going to assume it was. It's nothing personal. It's wrestling related. So this is from Deanna. Deanna says, my God, can they please just release Omos? He is so worthless. Deanna, I'm going to imagine this wasn't for the mailbag, but I decided to make it for the mailbag because it's a perfect way to start it. I laughed when I got this. That's why I didn't respond to you, because I wanted to save it for the mailbag and have it be the open here. First of all, yeah, look, Omos is not everyone's flavor. There have been people like Omos who have come and gone in the past. He kind of reminds me of a great Khali. A little more intelligent, a little more athletic, but kind of the same deal. Massive, massive human being. Towers over anyone. Is a spectacle, but super limited in the ring. So that's kind of, if you don't like Omos, you probably didn't like the great Khali. I kind of take it for what it's worth. He's different. You know you're never going to get a 5-star match out of him. That's not what he's built for. It's a spectacle. He creates a great picture. He creates a great headline. That's what he's for. He's got one card to play, and that's his size. So if you don't like that, yeah, I see why you want him released. But you know what? Before you call for his release, I think it's fair to say, can you at least give him a chance against Brock at Mania? Maybe he'll surprise you. He had a halfway decent match with Bobby Lashley a few months ago. So, all right, Deanna, great way to start off the show. All right, let's get to another patron who hasn't wrote in a while, and that's Grim Reefer. He says, hey, WWE Podcast, Grim here. Long time since I wrote in, but I finally found time this week. Mania is not too far away, and I have no interest in the main event. Not saying it's not going to be a good match, but the outcome is too predictable. Well, first of all, you're the first person I've heard say that, Grim. Predictable in what way? Because, and I'm not trying to be, combative at all. I'm genuinely asking because I have not heard anybody, make this statement, because I have, and including myself, have waffled back and forth. I'm leaning Roman, but I absolutely see where WWE would be tempted to go with Cody, especially with the crowd reaction continuing to be consistently, there's the key, good and very good for Cody. So, I mean, when you say predictable, I don't know what you mean, because predictable is not predictable in most people's minds because people are all over the place. But anyway, you say Charlotte versus Rhea. I'd expect Rhea to win, but does that mean Judgment Day moves over to SmackDown? Judgment Day needs some gold, and Priest and Khan Dom, thank you, love it, make a good tag team. I would absolutely think so. From my understanding, there's going to be a bit of a shakeup after WrestleMania. I don't know if it's going to be a full draft, but it may just be some big, massive moves. But honestly, whatever's left of the draft has gone by the wayside anyway. I mean, we have people showing up that don't have titles for no reason, that just show up because they're showing up. Like, there's the whole draft is a joke. I don't even think they should do one because they can't hold themselves to their own rules for even 2 weeks. So I would just be of like kind of loose rosters, pillar guys that are on both shows. Like Roman holds SmackDown, even though he can be on Raw. You have Gunther on SmackDown. Like you have certain guys. Seth Rollins is a Raw guy, but you could have big moves, but not a full shakeup. But yeah, to answer your question, I think Judgment Day does go to SmackDown. Yes. Asuka versus Bianca. I hope Asuka wins. I like her character change. But is it time for Bianca Eastern Standard Time to take a concerto, take a couple of months and come back with a new character? I'm really glad you brought that up. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. My mind is in Florida. I'm glad you brought that up, really, though, because this is something I've also heard on a lot of other major podcasts. And it's a good topic. And I'm glad you brought it because Asuka's not talked about enough here. And neither is Bianca, for that matter. Bianca Eastern Standard Time that's hilarious, first of all. I've never even made the connection from EST to Eastern Standard Time. But absolutely, Bianca needs something. I called for her heel turn at WrestleMania. I've called for that. If they turn Bianca heel, sign me up. Bianca right now, I think, is on her way to a Hall of Fame career. Some would argue she's already got one if she ended her career today. Some would argue that. But Bianca has more to offer. She's been very hold the line, slowly declining over the last several months. Not a lot happening. She needs a massive shakeup. Not that her career is in any kind of jeopardy. She is, as I've said, I think the best pure women's athlete on the entire WWE roster. That's from NXT to SmackDown to Raw. She's that good in the ring, and she's got a great presence. But when she comes out twirling her hair and skipping and, like she's playing hopscotch on her way to the ring, it's like, I've kind of had enough of that. I'm ready for her to get serious. And she's already got a heel character built in. When you say you're the best, the fastest, the roughest, the toughest, does it get any more narcissistic than that? Yet we're all cheering for this? It's not going to take much to flip the light switch for her to be heel because she doesn't have to change much. So that's what I would argue for. Asuka, while we're kind of not sure what the hell she is, I would argue she stays babyface or goes babyface and Bianca turns heel at Mania. All right, Ray versus Condom. Since Ray moved over to SmackDown and Cross started with the hourglass and time's running out, I've thought career-ending match for Ray shortly. But maybe at Backlash, as I see Ray winning, then Condom beating Ray down like a snitch in the clink. I love the language. Oh, it's great. I think that's a great story. Ray gets the victory over his son. And what's going to happen is, I think that if this happens, which I think you're on the right track here there, Grim. What I think happens is where, Dom looks like he's seen the light. Maybe he comes out on Monday Night Raw. And it looks like he's dressed in more lighter clothes. It looks like he's seen the light, and that he's humbled by his father, and like he suddenly has this newfound respect for his dad. His dad says, "I didn't want to have to do this, son. It was tough love. I had to teach you a lesson." And they embrace, and maybe the crowd cheers. And then wham, he tears the shirt off. Rhea joins. They bloody. I say bloody because they can't do blood anymore, but. They just destroy Rey Mysterio. Massive heat for Dom for being a sore loser, a punk SOB, and boom, you're exactly right. At Backlash, Dom gets his revenge, and maybe that's where Rey ends his career. All right, not sure if there's ever been one, but a career-ending mask fight where the winner is the one who removes the opponent mask, a bit like a PC bra and panties match. Maybe not the best way for Ray to go out, but the heat on Condom retired his dad, the greatest masked luchador that ever lived, by the greatest humiliation a masked luchador can have removed, or he can have by removing his mask in public. So you're saying, yeah, that could be exactly what happens. And maybe that's what sends Ray over the edge. Maybe some people have called that Ray is going to get attacked, or his family is going to be attacked by Dom during the actual Hall of Fame ceremony, which is the night before. So that's how long WWE is going to wait until Ray finally says, Dom, like, we're doing this, me and you tomorrow night. Like, they could very well do that, where they, for the first time ever, do something at the Hall of Fame ceremony. I mean, there's a level of respect there that, you could make an argument for nothing wrestling related storyline should happen at the Hall of Fame, but they may do that. But yeah, you're right. They could also go the route of the mask removal. The main event is not, or I'm sorry, that's the main event I want to see. Not same old Roman wins, ref gets knocked out, some family member interferes, he acknowledges it me, everyone except The Rock returns, oh man, these 1,000 days can't come quick enough. One last thing, Sheamus, Drew, and Gunther, triple threat. Sheamus wins, Gunther goes on to face Jay for the championship after Jay is the one who beats Roman at SummerSlam. Wow, yeah. I mean, I can't argue with any of that. Yeah, I really can't, Grim. There's just, all of those are good ideas. And that's what makes this so fascinating from a main event perspective. There's so many ways they could go, which is why I think there's more mileage to get out of Roman being champion than Cody. Because as I've said, okay, you put the belt on Cody, great, Roman streak is over. Then what? What do you do with Cody as champion? I just don't think the momentum for Roman's championship run is done yet. Not with Jay hanging out there and maybe Sammy getting another rematch. Like, it seems like there's too much to get through. Plus The Rock floating out there for maybe WrestleMania 40. I mean, so anyway, thanks, Grim. Appreciate it. Let's get to our next email. This is Rocky T's Rapid Fire. So here we go. First, for all those who don't know, the blue mist that Asuka used last week on Chelsea Green was supposed to have an opaque effect, but she did not sell it correctly. You would think the mist in Asuka's mouth would affect her with the opaque effect, but from my understanding, the mist affects only the misty and not the mister. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't really pay too much attention to what the mist should look like, I guess, but thank you for that. Second, Rollins oversold the Logan power punch, in my opinion. It may be believable had they been wrestling for 15 minutes, but not after the little tussle they had. Yeah, I guess so. The thing is, he knocked Roman or Jey Uso out with it. Remember that one time before Roman's match? And that was the whole thing they sold the match on between Logan and Roman, was one lucky punch. So, third, Ronda really isn't that big of a star anymore, in my opinion. I don't believe her name holds the star power it did when she first debuted. So honestly, who cares if she's not at Mania? Plus, her in-ring skills for storytelling and promos are not up to par for a WrestleMania standard match. Yeah, it's funny. No one's even complaining or worried or sad that Ronda's not here. The only thing I was looking forward to is a hopeful Becky Ronda one-on-one. I've been calling for that for years. And they didn't get there. Again, it's criminal, guys. It's effing criminal. But yeah, it's hilarious. Like, no one is even like, what? How's Ronda Rousey? Like, no one's even saying anything. It's funny. But I mean, honestly, the women's division will be just fine without her. No doubt about it. She had some contributions, and she helped during WrestleMania 35 with her star power. No doubt about it. But we're at a place we don't need her. Fourth, Dom should not interrupt Ray's induction speech at the Hall of Fame, but what if Dom attacks Ray or disrespects his mom backstage after she's inducted, and that's the straw that breaks the camel's back? Yeah, look, that's another way to go. If you want to keep the Hall of Fame ceremony sacrosanct, and you don't want to put any kind of wrestling storyline in the Hall of Fame, it's purely about real guys who have sacrificed their lives. We're not doing any storytelling here. Then that's exactly right. You could, and that's what I've thought all along too, is there's going to be a family member that Dom holds hostage or threatens to hurt, specifically Ray's wife, his mom. So I like that too. Lastly, besides Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes will be the only other wrestler with royal blood that Roman will defend against. Even with the victory over LA Knight, Cody still does not look strong enough to me to dethrone Roman. I know I've said it in the past, but that royal blood beats royal blood, and it's just that, except it's Roman's royal blood beating the royal blood of Cody Rhodes. Thanks a million for approving the WrestleMagic episode. I'm very thankful and grateful to be excited to be part of the team. Yeah, guys, if you haven't heard, new show that comes out every week now. It's called WrestleMagic. Rocky T and Michael Gross. WrestleMagic, the first episode debuted this past week, so check it out. Really good, really just a good long conversation, but if you guys, that's not a complaint because we don't have a whole lot of long form audio much on the show anymore. So they satisfied that with a lengthy but really good conversation. It's called Wrestle Magic that comes up on our podcast every week. So check it out. So yeah, I mean, I don't think the victory over LA Knight was supposed to make you feel that he could defeat Roman Reigns. I mean, LA Knight hasn't won a match since he came to the main roster as LA Knight. So it was just kind of meant to just continue, the momentum of Cody. It wasn't supposed to really change your perception of him. But the Royal Blood theory is not a bad one. I like it. Thanks so much, buddy. All right. I know I'm kind of rocketing through these guys. You guys got a lot for me tonight, but let's continue. Let's get with Mr. DJ Kuzmo, and he says, hello? No, it's not exactly it. He says, hello, WWE and AEW family. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. In case you missed him, there was no Bray Wyatt on last week's episode of SmackDown. I almost forgot about him until the Twitter rumors came up this week that he, quote, took his ball and went home. Whether it's true or not, it's left to be seen as to who will Bobby Lashley have a match with at WrestleMania. To me, I think Bray walking off is a work, and maybe he shows up with Uncle Howdy at WrestleMania or after Mania, because why would someone just quit when there's 2 weeks until Mania? I'm just saying. Well, DJ, now you may already be privy to this by the time I'm reading, but from what I understand, it's not a take his ball and go home situation. It's a situation where there's a, quote, physical issue. Maybe that's a cover for what's really going on. I tend to think it's mental. Most of the time with Bray, it's mental. So that's my take. But I'm gonna go. Let's just take WWE at face value. He's injured. That's what they're saying. He has some kind of minor injury, is what I understand. Physical. Okay. Again, do I think it's a cover for something else? Yes, that's what I think as well. But all right. This is the problem with I have. Oh, by the way, who's Bobby going to face? I guess we'll talk about that when we know whether or not this match is going to happen. We'll know, I think, within the next week. This is the problem I have with social media today when most sources report the same thing, when we don't actually get a statement or press conference from whom the news report is about. Remember when there were all these releases back in 2020 and then in 2021, and source after source after source were reporting on it? But who was actually leaking that information? Interesting to note that last year there were 23 NXT releases during the month of August, and that was quietly mentioned in the Pro Wrestling News, while every source was talking about the Sasha and Naomi walkout and then the release of Mandy Rose in the late year. Well, I can tell you what the problem is, DJ. I don't even know if it matters who the source is. I think it matters how high the name value is, like how big of a star is being released. That's why if you heard the 23 NXT releases, you may have had some kind of mid-card stars, lower card. But when you hear about Sasha and Naomi, like those are main roster stars. It's all about how big of a star is being affected, who's being released. Because when Bray got released, when Braun Strowman got released, that was headline news. Everyone else came 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 50th, right? That's what people focus on. People focus on the stars that got released. That's why. They got buried because they were headlined and overshadowed by the bigger stars that got released. That's all. Okay, all I got to say is when you see similar reports circulate all over Twitter and the internet, take a minute to process the information that is being received and ask yourself, who does this benefit and why does it matter? Don't believe the hype and false reports until the facts are presented, or until you, the wrestling fan, take some time to do research. Sorry for going on a rant. I just had to say my 2 cents on this matter. I got nothing against the credible wrestling journalists out there. It's just that social media kind of ruins credibility of pro wrestling news with all these wannabe pro wrestling news, quote, sources. Everyone's a reporter, right? Everyone's got a publisher right in their pocket with their phones. Everyone's got social media, Twitter, Instagram. You can make a website. Anybody can be a quote unquote journalist, but there are very few true ones left out there. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, I think, is one out there. Dave Meltzer, I have mixed feelings on, right? The Torch, Wade Keller, I really respect all of them. All their work. Jason Powell over at Pro Wrestling Net. Love everything he does and his staff. There are some big names. I mean, we all know we can trust. And unfortunately, yeah, you're right. Like, people just want clicks. Sometimes, sadly, there are just kind of clickbait people out there that just want traffic to try to get attention. And then, we got to watch out for that stuff. Shout out to my guys, The Gardener, Michael Gross, and Rocky T. Great first episode of Wrestle Magic on the Great Muda. If you guys are listening, Here comes a suggestion for a future episode down the road. An episode on the contribution of the lucha libre style of pro wrestling and how it has changed the way pro wrestling was to what it is today. Anyway, that's all for now. Stay Usi, DJ Kuzmo, signing off. And yes, we'll get the Veer Mahan report shortly. All right. DJ, let's move on here to our next emailer. And this is actually Mrs. Rocky T. This is Kimchi, Mrs. Rocky T. We are adding to our wrestling collection this week. Our 2K23 game will be downloaded by the time you read this email, and I order my autograph Jey Uso poster, and my Rhea Ripley Funko came in a few days ago. I can't wait for her to dethrone the queen because Rocky loves her, and I'm Team Rhea all the way. Well, yes, I'm. From what I hear, 2K23 is an awesome game. It's better than last year. It has, from what I understand, quote unquote, returned to form as quote unquote the champion of the ring in terms of pro wrestling video games. Now I know AEW has their video game coming out, from what I understand, soon. But right now, 2K23, if you can, if you're lucky enough to have a PS5 or Xbox One, it is apparently awesome. And I'm going to be joining you in that download probably after I get back from vacation. So. I got excited when I thought Jey was siding with Sammy. Rocky literally walked in the door from work seconds before Jey super kicked Sammy, and when it happened, my heart dropped, and it didn't help that Rocky predicted this would happen, and it rubbed it in my face. But I'm still Team Bloodline and Team Jey no matter what. Anything for Jey. Shh, don't tell Rocky I said this. Well, don't worry, your secret is safe. Rocky, you didn't hear this. Okay? Yeah. So Team Jey Uso no matter what, yeah. I'm glad you guys, don't have marital issues over pro wrestling storylines. That's good. All right. Let's get to our next emailer here. And this is Thomas Franco. He says, sorry for writing in so late if you're already recording the show. Well, no worries. You're not. I'm looking at all the signs that WWE are putting out there from their content. It seems like Roman will retain. Theory will probably retain against Cena and continue to hold the U.S. title. Gunther is also still wrapped up in the IC title picture, so the young, upcoming heels the WWE are pushing won't be able to challenge Cody for the Undisputed title if he wins at WrestleMania. Heyman also mentioned on SmackDown last Friday for that nearly 1,000 days, Roman has been champion. I hope that the loss doesn't affect Cody's momentum because I think he's gotten pretty over as a babyface, and I would love to see him win the belt at some point. Also, the rumor going around is that in this current storyline of Damage Control, Trish, Lita, Becky, we'll see Trish cost Lita and Becky the titles after Mania, which has Trish turning heel and starting a program with Becky into SummerSlam. I have not heard this. I have not. I hope not. I really do, because I don't need to see Trish or Lita. It was like fun for a little while, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't hate it, but Becky should be working with, today's talent. She's not going to gain anything that she didn't already gain with Trish, right? Becky has surpassed any and everything Trish has done. She has main evented WrestleMania. All right. She got a bigger reaction than any of the men in pro wrestling at the time that she became the man and turned on Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam in 2018, whatever it was. Like, she's already superseded Trish's career, so she's not going to gain anything by working with Trish. I hope that's not true. What do you think of this? So you say, personally for me, I'd like to see Rhea Becky at SummerSlam for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Trish versus Becky is a decent holdover feud, but I think Becky has spent enough time out of the title picture, in my opinion. Well, you know what I'd like to see? Bianca Rhea. That's what I'd love to see. The problem with that is, if you want to see Bianca Rhea, you can't turn Bianca heel, because a heel Bianca versus a heel Rhea doesn't work. So they're going to have to kind of figure out those. But those are two matches you got to have, right? I also think this rumored program leaves Damage Control in no man's land. I hope they break up and give Io Sky a singles push if the rumor is true. That's all for me. Enjoy your vacation. Tom from Montreal. Well, thank you, Thomas. And, Damage Control is in no man's land. They're in a very dangerous spot from the perspective of they need to get something going. Right? It's very boring right now. No doubt about it. They've got nothing going on. Even for a faux women's division, for a tag team division, I wouldn't keep them together. They're not fun to watch. They've got no momentum. Right now, yeah, I would agree. All right, let's move on. Let's go to, where do we go? Let's go to Dennis O'Brien. He says, hey, Matt, it's been a while. I hope you're well. This WrestleMania is a bit all over the place, if I'm honest. Do not get me wrong. I'm looking forward to it, so I'm probably contradicting myself. Anyway, I'm actually looking forward to Edge versus the Demon. It will be a perfect ending to a storyline which actually began at the last WrestleMania when Priest first appeared with Edge against his match against Styles. I think LA Knight is going to be a big babyface. He's getting organic cheers. If you haven't noticed, talk soon, bud. Yeah, I mean, LA Knight is got star written all over him. I think post-Mania is going to be it's going to be a fun summer for LA Knight. I'll just put it that way. I think he'll finally start to rack up some wins. There was even talk, and this might have come from Fightful. Don't quote me, but it was one of the credible sources that talked about. Sounds insane. A potential Stone Cold versus LA Knight match, and like for WrestleMania this year. Like 39. I still think we're going to see Austin just stun The Miz because he's the host, and he'll start running his mouth and say he's the greatest host of all time. No star's bigger than him. Bam, crash, stunners, beer, fun, right? But that said, LA Knight, I can't wait. LA Knight is, even though he was trying to play the heel, I guess, with the babyface Bray Wyatt, he was still getting cheers. And even in losing, he is still getting big reactions. He's really good in the ring. His mic presence is phenomenal. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, we're coming up on nearly a year with Edge and Finn Balor. I'm just done with it. No doubt. All right. Moving on. Let's talk to Justin from Maryland. He's writing in today, guys. And he says, got cut off by the 3 minutes of my voicemail. Well, then here you go. All right. Seemed to go by quick as I was stuck on one topic. I just wanted to finish what I was saying. Okay, so guys, when Justin's voicemail comes along, this is the part that got cut off. All right. So where am I here? I just don't think Cody is the guy yet. He needs to be built up more. I think Roman still has more gas left in his title run. As I stated, he can still face Styles, Lashley, Rollins again, Jay, Gunther, and maybe Karrion Kross if he's built up right. See, this is what I'm talking about, guys. There's more in the run with Roman than there is with Cody. That's, I think, a big kind of telltale sign if you're looking for Roman to retain. That's a massive argument to be made. And all right, so I just can't see the visual of Cody with 2 belts. Maybe he drops one, but I'm just not ready. I think Rollins should be the one guy to pin Reigns. I'm not sure what they're waiting for, but that story should end at either Mania or SummerSlam. Cody just seems like the right guy to be Intercontinental Champion or U.S. Champion for now. He will definitely have a feud with Gunther at some point. Also forgot to mention Randy. He should come back and feud with Roman for the titles. That would be fun. And one more thing, Trish Stratus. I've seen reports that maybe she turns heel, but why? I guess Becky and Trish maybe SummerSlam is cool, but what about the tag titles? Maybe they could have done a triple threat with Shayna and Ronda and had Trish versus Bayley. I don't know. It's fine, but definitely could be better. That's all for the email. Talk soon. Thanks, Justin, and we'll get to the voicemails, of course, a little bit later. Yeah, a lot there. I can't go through it all because, you bring up so many things that I could go into 15-minute rants about each. But Cody versus Gunther is absolutely going to happen. We saw what happened at the end of this year's Royal Rumble. They work very well together. Fun dynamic there. Again, the Trish heels turn comes up once again. I've given my thoughts on that already. So, yeah, Trish. I'm not even getting into Trish, but thank you, Justin. I'll just say thank you, and we'll get to your voicemail. All right. Let's get to, I told you guys, got a lot of emails tonight. That's why I'm kind of rocketing through. Let's get to Seth. And he says, I got to say, I'm so bored with this program. The promos and exchanges between both Edge and Finn have been cheesy and uninspiring, and I don't think it's Edge's fault. I love Finn, the in-ring wrestler, but his promos and his mic work are so forced and boring. I don't believe anything he says, and I think he's got the personality of a piece of wood. I believe that this program has made Edge look bad, and it's unfortunate because his talents on the mic and in-ring storytelling are legendary. I know I keep beating this dead horse, but Edge should have stayed the leader of Judgment Day. This program between Edge and the Judgment Day has been a big-time failure. I enjoyed the Edge and Damian Priest exchanges and promos because Damian seems to be natural as an entertainer on the mic. Finn, though, not so much. They struck gold with Edge as the leader of the Dark Cult and dropped the ball big time. Could have seen Edge versus Cena, like you said, with Edge still the leader of the Judgment Day. So many opportunities for a great program for Edge before his retirement. But instead, we get this boring program with Finn, who's not a great leader and a great fit for the Judgment Day. I mean, I can't dispute this. I still don't understand why they broke up the Judgment Day so fast. And we never got to see Edge really flesh out his heel character and dig in and really see what we've got. I'd love to talk to creative as to what the hell they were thinking so quickly to pull the rug out from underneath it. But if all's well that ends well, meaning the Judgment Day are a success as a whole, I mean, look what Dominic and Rhea have come out of it from. I mean, like, they are products of a group that we never thought would resurrect itself after Edge left. And they are thriving. Rhea is heavily favored to win against Charlotte Flair and become champion. Heavily. As she should be, and should win. Dominic will get the match against his father and have a showing with his dad at WrestleMania and have a hell of a time, a hell of a moment, hell of a match there, and then eventually take him down, probably at Backlash, as we talked about earlier. But, you know, Edge is the cult leader. I would have loved that as well. No doubt. I mean, that we will never know what could have come of that, unfortunately. Maybe this whole dynamic of Dominic and Rhea doesn't happen if Edge is the leader. Who knows, right? Like, it's all about the domino effect, like the butterfly effect, I should say, right? Like, if Edge didn't leave, would Dominic and Rhea have come up to the star level of stardom that they have? Or if Edge stayed, like, how would that have all happened, right? Like, it's all, you're just assuming that everything would have played out the way it had, but we don't know that, you know, like, too many butterfly effect things going on here. And I'm with you, though. I still don't understand why they kicked Edge out so fast, but I think we're looking at this negatively simply for the length of time that this program has gone with Edge and Finn. That's, I think, your biggest problem. You know, Finn is not great on the mic. I agree. He's not great. He's okay. I don't like him smiling all the time. That's annoying to me. Maybe that's the point, but yeah, I think it's the length of time. If it only lasted a month or two, we wouldn't be complaining so much, but it's been nearly a year. Like, let's go, right? I agree. All right. Thanks, Seth. And let's get to our next email. And this one's from Amber. And she says, "Hey, Matt, I really enjoyed your talk with Anthony this week about your fantasy bookings over the next few months. I absolutely love the idea of Gunther being the one to take the belt or belts off of Roman. He is certainly a believable opponent and has shown he can be a great champion. I don't think it would be hard to turn him babyface at all, since he really doesn't exhibit any typical heel behavior like cheating to win, making fun of the crowd, etc. I think all it would take for him to turn babyface is literally just booking him against heels. In a Roman versus Gunther match, I think Gunther is automatically the babyface. He could cut some great promos about Roman being an absentee champion and cheating to win, that Roman is a disgrace to the title and to the sport. The only problem is that Gunther would need to drop the Intercontinental Championship first. What if they turn Drew heel and have him cheat to win the IC title off Gunther at Mania? I actually don't know if I like Drew as a heel. We've seen it. Drew can be a really good heel, but we already have a top heel. I feel like there's always heel turns and never babyface turns. I mean, everyone can't be a heel. I don't hate it. It would certainly be unexpected. And the other thing, though, is Gunther dropping the IC belt. I don't know if I'm ready for that. He's such a great Intercontinental Champion. He is, if you were to sum up Gunther in one word, it's respect. Hard to hate a heel that's built around respect and doesn't cheat to win. But I don't think I'm ready for that. And I don't know if I'm ready for the Intercontinental Championship to change hands with someone cheating to win and beating a heel to do that. It's a little bit untraditional, but it's not impossible. And it's certainly a way to shock the fans if that happens, no doubt. But again, Gunther Roman, you don't want to get to it right away. So that means you would keep the run going for Gunther for the time being. In regards to a Roman Cody Seth three-way match for the WWE Championship at Backlash or even King of the Ring, I'm all for it. And I think Seth should win for the following reasons. 1, Raw desperately needs a world title, as you've mentioned. 2, Seth deserves a world title. 3, You could set up Cody versus Seth Part 4 for the WWE Championship, perhaps at SummerSlam, and give Seth the upper hand for once. Maybe even let Seth retain for a while longer. I hate that he had to lose clean to Cody 3 times in a row. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse on that one, but for Seth to lose 3 times clean it's a crime. It's a cruel and unusual punishment, right? I'm with you. My final thought here, I'm trying to keep it under 3 minutes, is about the 6-woman tag team match at WrestleMania. My hope is that since the tag team titles aren't being defended, that WWE uses this as an opportunity to just do away with them completely. There are not enough women on the main roster to justify having a tag team division. However, I think the women could benefit from a mid-card title, perhaps a women's IC champion. I think that would benefit the women more than a make-believe tag division. It would be great for women like Raquel, Sonya, and Shayna to give them some time with a championship before going to Raw or SmackDown and going for the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship. WWE could set up a tournament to fill some TV time for several weeks and have the final match take place on a premium live event. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care. Have a great vacation and happy early 316 day. Yeah, thank you for that. I forgot about 316 day. I'll have to deliver some stunners on the plane tomorrow, and then subsequently be, taken off the plane and arrested. But totally worth giving the stunners. So I've heard this before, that the women need or would rather have another singles title. A couple thoughts. One, they still could resurrect the tag team belts if they actually took them seriously and said, guys, we need to take this seriously. No more back and forth and up and down and here and there, and it's there and it's not. We have a division. We don't. We pretend we do. We don't. Enough of that, right? I would rather have them do that than introduce another title. Like, in other words, even if they do the tag team division correctly, I still don't think another singles championship for the women is a good idea. Why? Not yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just think right now is not the right time, because for the longest time, every match the women ever had was about the women's championships. It was very rarely about the personal issues or anything like that. It was always about the women's championship, and I don't like it to be. It shouldn't be all about the championship. So if you introduce another singles title, then it's always about the championships. And let me just say right off the bat, I love the fact that everyone should argue that they are there to win championships. That should be the goal. But you know what? It leaves very little room for actual personal feuds that have nothing to do with championships, because those sell tickets too, right? Sometimes personal issues without a championship is the best way to go. Hell, look at the proposed match between The Rock and Roman Reigns that most people agree, most that I've talked to anyway, don't want a championship involved. It's all about personal. It's personal. A championship would muddy the waters there. So, I mean, that's an extreme example, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm all for it, but once they establish the women more, and here's the other thing too, the women need a larger presence on the show. The women still do not get equal amount of time to the men on the show, and of course there's an argument to be had of whether they should or they need to earn it or whatever. Like, but the fact is, right now, whether you feel they should have equal 50-50 TV time or not, is if you introduce a new singles title, then you're essentially going to make anyone who's on TV a champion, or at least contending for a championship, because the women have limited time as it is. So you're going to introduce another championship, I think until they get more TV time and are a larger part of the show, you can't do it. That's my thought. But as far as them doing away with the tag team division, I'm all for that too. If they were to do that, so let me just flesh out the last scenario. If they were to just completely get rid of the tag team division, somehow they vanquish, Lita and Becky Lynch are stripped of the belts, and then WWE does away with them, which I don't think they'll do, because I think that'd send a bad message. In its place, though, if they did a singles championship for the women, then you have all those women who are in a fake tag team, which is about 4 people, and you put them in the singles division, which is where 95% of the women are, and added a singles championship. You have a stronger argument, but I certainly don't want both to exist yet. I know everyone wants to have everything the men have, the women should have. no, that's a bad idea, at least if you want it to happen all at once. If you want it to happen over time, I'm all for it. It'd be a very bad idea to introduce it all at once. Too much, too soon, and guess what? Every time you introduce a new championship, the value of all those championships that are in the women's division, which there's not a lot of them, obviously, but they decrease. The more championships there are, men's or women's, it decreases in value because there's more of them. So lots of way there, but good questions. Thank you so much, Amber. I believe it's the first time you wrote in, so thank you so much for the comments, and I hope to hear from you next week. All right, let's get to Sam. And Sam says, considering the lack of interest going into this year's Mania, what WrestleMania do you think had the best stories going in? The two that stand out to me are WrestleMania 33 and WrestleMania 21. Also use the code SAM72005 at newercover.com for cheap ice baths. Well, there you go. There's your plug for Nurecover, N-U-R-E cover.com, and use the code SAM72005 for cheap ice baths. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Sam. My wife and I were talking about ice baths, and that's kind of the new kick right now, where people getting ice baths and the benefits of ice baths and all that kind of thing. Maybe I'll check that out. Sam, so that's a fun question for you. WrestleMania 33, WrestleMania 21. Yeah, WrestleMania 21, if I recall right off the top of my head, it was headlined by John Cena JBL. I think that's where John Cena won his first championship against JBL. I mean, WrestleMania 17, it's kind of a low-hanging fruit option there, with The Rock and Stone Cold going into that was amazing. Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30, the Yes Movement, more recently was a hell of a story going in. Undertaker, HBK, WrestleMania 25, HBK, Ric Flair, his retirement match. I'm just going off some of the things that really had great stories going in. Emotional. And when I say good stories, I mean like you had a great emotional attachment to it. That's one. Even WrestleMania 20 and the triple threat match for the world title and the WWE Championship that night. Both of them were really, really well done. So, boy, to pick one that had the best stories going in, that's tough. Because I don't think there's one that had the best. There's just a lot of great main events that you had, really emotional attachments to, like the ones I just mentioned. I'd have to really sit and think about that one to go through all the cards that I've ever watched. And my first WrestleMania I watched was WrestleMania 14 in March of 1998, headlined by Stone Cold versus HBK. And when Stone Cold won the championship for the first time, Mike Tyson, that whole deal. So quite a WrestleMania to set the bar. And so I'd have to go back from WrestleMania 14 and forward, which is a lot of WrestleManias. But that's a great question. Honestly, you could make an episode out of that. It's a great topic. Thanks, Sam. All right. Let's get to only a couple more, guys. A couple more emails, and then we get to the voicemails. This is Josh in Kansas City. He says, love the content y'all have been putting out, from Good Morning WWE to all the reviews. Love the amount of viewpoints on subjects. I've been thinking about a few things as of late. Well, first of all, thank you for the comments. And we do certainly have a wide variety of co-hosts and opinions on the show, which is great. Yeah, yes, I'm the creator, I'm the founder, I'm the host, but my opinion shouldn't carry any more weight than any of my other hosts, because sometimes they have better points than I do, and I get stuck in my ways, and sometimes I get too negative of an outlook, and that's just kind of, I know my flaws. But anyway, would the WWE ever incorporate a trios tag team belt like AEW? I feel like there has been an uptick in factions, and I'm curious to see if there will be some gang war type storylines after Mania, most including a woman superstar as well, so maybe more mixed tags. Well, first of all, let me just ex-nay the mixed tag thing. Unless WWE is going to lift the ban on men retaliating, I don't want to see men just used as piñatas and then the women hiding behind their invisible shield of being a woman and they can't retaliate. Okay, it's nonsense. Unless they hold themselves to the same standard. If the WWE's philosophy of women getting physical with men is applied equally to both sexes, I'm all for it. Okay. Whether that means men cannot touch women, and also women can't touch men, or women can touch men and men can touch women. That sounds really, really bad, but you know what I mean. Then I'm fine. But the problem is the standards never applied equally in the PG era, ever. For some reason, it's okay for the women to just, beat the hell out of the men, kick them in the nuts, low blow them, hit them with foreign objects, cost them matches, and the men just have to stand there because it's PG and the perception of the time that we're in and the culture that we are all living in 2023. The men have to just go, oh, okay, well, you're a woman, so I'm just going to stand here like a fool and, let you cost me the match or just get beat up because, you have this invisible shield around you. My point is, I don't want mixed tags unless the rules are applied equally either way, but you can't have rules for thee and not for me, if that makes sense. As far as the trios tag team belt, I don't hate it, but I think WWE wouldn't want to look like they are grabbing ideas from AEW, and WWE's never incorporated this to my knowledge, so I feel like they would feel like they are, again, they're lowering themselves to something AEW is doing, and I don't know. It's not a ridiculous idea because, as you mentioned, factions are running rampant in WWE, something that has not happened in a long time. So it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, next. I've tried so hard to like Cody Rhodes. I've gotten the feeling they are trying so hard to force him down our throats with the way that they have him piggyback at the stars that have worked their stories all year, and he just got to Rumble and his dad, and boom, main event. Sammy was their biggest opportunity at a payoff and just let it go. Heel heat is a thing, but Rhodes isn't it for me. Would have taken McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. Yes, totally agree. I mean, McIntyre Clash at the Castle, it was also the right time. Now, there came a better opportunity with Sammy, but if they had still done it, even in retrospect with the support Sammy got, I still think that Clash at the Castle would have been a fine time for Roman to drop the belt. But now you've passed Sammy. You will never, ever... WWE, I'm telling you right now, and I'm sure they listen to this and they are taking notes, and every breath that I take, they are quaking in their boots, making sure I don't criticize them, and everything I say, they're going to structure their creative moving forward around what I say. But... they will never, WWE, let me tell you, the collective WWE people, you will never get another opportunity like you had in Montreal with Sami Zayn. Ever. I don't care if The Rock, I don't care if Stone Cold, I don't care if The Undertaker, I don't care if Andre the Giant rises from the grave. It ain't gonna ever match the energy, the love, the pure, true, real, authentic emotion that people had for Sami Zayn. In the arena that vibrated to people at home. You will never find a better opportunity. That was the opportunity. I don't care who comes up, and I'm sure even Sami Zayn himself, if he wins it now, will never be able to duplicate the magic that they had at the Elimination Chamber in Montreal at the Bell Center. Never. It won't happen. They've screwed themselves in that regard. Now they may come up and we may say, oh, that was a really cool title change. Great crowd reaction. People, it was shocking. Roman's reign's over. All that. But it cannot match that environment. And maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care. For some reason, I mean, they have bigger plans in mind. All that. But I agree. Drew McIntyre should have won it also. That was also another great opportunity. But you're right. Yeah. Cody comes in. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Not only does he win the Rumble, he's number 30 in the Rumble, which makes it even less respectful that he comes in and, he's undefeated, gets injured, comes back, wins the Rumble, and then goes to main events WrestleMania. It's like, yeah, I'm with you. All right. Currently 2 hours away from official early access release for 2K23. Very excited. Hope this wasn't too long. Keep up the great work. Hope to have an insight to SmackDown this week in Kansas City. Yeah. I love it. Josh. Well, thanks, Josh. And I'm jealous of the 2K23. I almost did it myself too, but I've got two little kids at home and I'm going on vacation and I wouldn't have got a whole lot of use of spending that extra 3 days that I got early access to the game. For the money I would have spent, I would have had no time to do it. But everything I'm hearing from the game, I've watched some reviews, I've seen some footage. It's amazing from what I understand. And I will be getting it. Make no mistake. All right, let's get to our final email. And it says, hey, this is my first time getting involved with the mailbag, but have been loving the podcast with you recently. Shout out to Anthony DeMarco as well. This is from Noah. And Noah says, just wanted to hear your thoughts on a few things. Bianca Belair is pretty good in the ring and a decent promo, but it feels like she's ice cold right now. Do you think her face run with the championship is becoming a little stale with the crowd now? I just don't think Bianca can hold out. However, not sure how Asuka is an ideal replacement. They can't seem to make up their minds about who is face, who is heel leading into Mania. Could we potentially see one of them have a big heel turn at Mania or even before? Just also want to talk about LA Knight might do as what he might do as well. Ideally, Stone Cold back for just a segment with him would be best, or maybe The Miz since he's the host. Any other ideas or thoughts? As no idea what their actual plans would be as of right now. Yeah, I've heard, again, I did mention this a little bit earlier in the show. My thought is Stone Cold is going to be there. He'll stun The Miz, or maybe LA Knight will just come out and run his mouth. And that's possible too, where LA Knight tries to co-host with The Miz and they start both running their mouths. They're both heels. And that's when Stone Cold comes out, stuns both of them. That's actually probably what I would imagine. They can't leave LA Knight off Mania, especially if they are viewing him as a potential future star in the next year, 2 years. You got to put him on WrestleMania in some capacity. And even getting stunned by Stone Cold, getting some offense in on Stone Cold before he hits the stunner, the inevitable, probably 2 or 3 stunners on both of them, would be fun. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Maybe Miz says he's found a co-host and it's LA Knight. LA Knight comes out, they get some heat, and then smash, beer, stunners, and we all cheer. That's my guess. But as far as Asuka, yeah, again, this is ice cold. This is sadly ice cold. And when you look at what Bianca could have been doing with Rhea Ripley, it's depressing. And then, I just know that they could have put on Rhea and Bianca, that is, could have put on an amazing matchup. And Asuka and Bianca, again, from a physical perspective, not the story. The story is nonsense. But from the physical perspective, Asuka and Bianca are going to be really good. I expect a 3.5 out of 5-star match. I really do. 3 stars, at minimum. 3.5 is probably where you live out of 5. If anything more than that, I'll be, pleasantly surprised. But you're going to get a good match out of it. And the key, though, is exactly what you've been talking about, exactly what all the fans have been, at least of this show, and what I've seen online and all that. Everyone's just kind of like, Bianca is womp, womp, womp. Right now, she's at the low point, right? You would like to have your stars riding into WrestleMania on a high point, at a boiling point. They're hot, or they're at their maximum heat, or they're, on the top of the mountain when it comes to crowd support. Bianca is a baby face, but at the low point of her reaction. It's the worst combination she could be at, where fans are kind of like, I could take it or leave it. Like, people, I think, are becoming indifferent and getting a little bit stale with Bianca. So certainly a heel turn for Bianca would be a welcome turn of events. I would love it. It's already built in. It's just a matter of changing a tweaker here and there. She's already a heel, masked with charm. Her whole gimmick is focused around her, right? Everything, the EST is all about her. So it's easy to turn her heel and have her retain, but cheat to win. That's how I'd book it. And that would reinvigorate her big time. So that's what I would do. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks for the compliments. And let's get to those voicemails, guys. Nearly an hour of emails. I told you there's a lot today. So let's get to those voicemails and see who's up first.
Hello, WWE Podcast World. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record to you live on a Wednesday morning. And before we get to the Veer Mahan Report, I got to give a shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan for having me on their show this past Monday on the Good Morning WWE. We had a great time talking about WrestleMania, talking about what's going on in the WWE, and having a lot of laughs. It was an awesome conversation with them. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to them, go listen to that this past episode with me as the special guest, DJ Kuzma, your boy, with Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan. Good morning, WWE. Now, let's get to your favorite show to come on every week on the Mailbag, and I'm talking about the Veer Mahaan Report. Now, the Veer Mahaan Report took place last night on NXT, but we did not get an appearance of the end this year. We did not get an appearance of my guy, Veer Mahaan, Sangha, and the modern-day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal. But after what happened last week, after their loss to the Creed brothers in that trios match, that also included the champion Braun Breaker, this was a time for this team to regroup. So, I saw on Twitter, Veer Mahaan put out a tweet. It seems like it might be a message towards the Creed brothers. It says, "A lion never forgets." More of this coming, and a lot of it. Battles are lost occasionally, but you get up and provide some karma. I don't know what that is going to be about, but hey, if this is a potential that this feud continues with the Creed brothers going into Stand and Deliver. That's right, NXT Stand and Deliver. If we have the final blow-off, the final, I guess you could say the final matchup between these two tag teams, then let's go. And I am excited to see what happens next week if my guys, the end this year of Veer Mahaan, Sangha, and the modern-day Maharaja return, hopefully next week. But with that being said, I hope y'all have a blessed week. Stay useful, my friends. Be kind to one another. This is your boy DJ Kuzma, and peace.
All right, DJ. Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to go check out the Good Morning WWE that we just put out this past week with special guest DJ Kuzma, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan. I listened to it, entertaining as hell. Definitely recommend, and not just because it's on my show, but just because it's an entertaining show objectively. So now, as far as the tweets go from Veer Mahaan, I honestly don't know based on what you've told me. Cryptic. But some of it is self-explanatory, meaning, okay, I lost, a battle, but, I'm going to win the war kind of thing. Saying, you can't keep me down, I'll get back up. That is generally the message. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's more to it. There might be. You certainly are much more of an expert on what's going on with the industry than I am. But I'm just ready for them to debut on the main roster. I think all three of them, while we have certainly a lot of factions in WWE now, I think that they would provide a nice refresh starting with after WrestleMania. That's when I'm looking forward to them coming in. I've continued to say that because that's typically when we introduce new factions or call-ups or whatever. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So thank you so much, DJ. Appreciate it. Appreciate you contributing, I'll get the word out, to the show and coming on with Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan and writing in and calling in every week. All right, next voicemail.
Oh, hi, man. It's Bevan here. Hope you're well. I just finished watching Monday Night Raw on a Tuesday morning here in Australia. And I must say, I am absolutely buzzing for Bronson Reed. I mean, we all know what a powerhouse he is. But the way he dismantled Elias, that tsunami, whatever you call it, bomb off the top rope. I don't know, like usually superstars get to the top rope, balance themselves, and then jump. Where this guy just climbs up and uses all that momentum from climbing up to then power from his legs and deal this huge drop on Elias or whoever will be lying there next. I mean, that if anyone thinks that wrestling's an act, I mean, that is some serious energy landing on Elias. I mean, that was, for me, when I saw it happen, I was out loud, holy F. I mean, the man must bench press cities just to warm up because he's such a huge guy, and I find this guy exciting. I mean, hopefully he can have a bit of ability on the mic as well, and they can truly develop him because Bronson Reed, I don't know, he's just a wrecking ball, isn't he? It's so exciting. As you can tell, I'm really excited about that. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that, one day, assuming Jay turns babyface and takes on Roman Reigns, he can always refer back to the I Quit match he had with Roman Reigns, where the only reason he said I quit was because Roman was going to dismantle, so I've got dismantle on the brain today after Bronson. Love the man. He was going to do harm onto Jimmy or so, I think, and then when he was about to really hurt him, Jay said I quit. So Jay could always lean on that and goes, you know what? man on man, I never said I'd quit and possibly take him on in that way to possibly end the bloodline whenever that may come down the road. So that's just my thoughts on that. But anyway, go Bronson Reed. See ya.
All right, Bevan. Hope you're doing well, brother. Thanks for calling in. Good points about Bronson Reed. You know, I think I spoke about it earlier in the show. Bronson Reed is a monster, and he's not like the Funkasaurus monster, okay? He's not like that. He does have potential. He's young. I was hoping that they would capitalize on the momentum he had after Elimination Chamber, which was his best showing by far. And they just clearly didn't have anything in mind for him for WrestleMania, and so they had to cool him off. But after WrestleMania, the slate is wiped clean, and that's when things restart. So I'm looking forward to a really fun 2023 for Bronson Reed. Do I think he'll become champion? No, of course not. But he could take a run at the U.S. title. You know, if he stays on Raw, that's an absolute possibility. You know, they're booking him as a heel right now, but at the same time, who's not dismantling Elias at this point? Like, this, you know, Elias has taken the place of Chad Gable, and Elias is a enhancement talent right now. So for him to dismantle Elias, it's not exactly a heavy lift based on where they've positioned Elias lately. So, but point taken, the dude is athletic as hell, and he's got a great upside, a great look, just a great presence on camera that you can't teach. You either have it or you don't, and Bronson Reed has it. So I'm looking forward to 2023 for him. And as far as Jey Uso goes, yeah, that's a great point. I could see when Jey finally decides to snap, and he will, because the fans want to see Jey snap. And Jey talked about why he did what he did to Sami, because he said he had to. What would you guys do? Because the other option is ousting himself from the family and you know, that kind of thing, and making his life a living hell just to align himself with Sami. So it was kind of a choice that was a false choice for him. And that means that the door is still open for Jey to turn, and it's going to happen. But they're getting a ton of money out of this storyline right now, and rightfully so. I wouldn't just break it up right away either. They've got a great thing going that rarely happens in WWE, so I would milk it for all it's worth too. And that's absolutely right. They could, when Jey turns, he could try to turn his brother, Jimmy, who's much more resistant to turn, by showing him the footage back in 2020 or 2021, whatever it was, of Roman Reigns choking out Jey, you know, and threatening to basically injure him if Jey didn't submit and quit. So that is absolutely going to be a critical piece of footage if they remember to show it when the Jey turn happens. Great point. So, all right, let's continue on here and get to our next voicemail.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Gardener, Michael Gross, the second best pro wrestling podcaster in Louisville today. And I just wanted to call in because it's been hitting all across every news site that the one and only Great Muta is being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So I implore anybody who has not listened to the first episode of WrestleMagic, starring myself and Mr. Rocky T, going over the lifetime and the career and the era and aura of the life of the Great Muta. Please go over it and let us know what you think, because it's like we predicted the future or something like that. On to other things. I miss everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan, I'm calling you out because you never invite me onto your show. What gives? I thought we were all family here. I thought I was a neighbor. Anyway, I love everybody. Matt, enjoy your vacation. I'll be talking to you soon. Goodbye.
Thanks so much, buddy. Good to hear you. And I would implore everybody as well to check out WrestleMagic. We got a lot of new shows happening on the show, on this feed anyway, and I'd encourage you to check that out with WrestleMagic. Rocky T and Michael Gross did a great job covering the Great Muta. And as I mentioned earlier, it's long form, but long form in this instance goes by quickly. They did a great job. They were very listenable, fun, great chemistry. I mean, I'm putting them over because they really are. They were great together. So check out WrestleMagic, no doubt about it. And I got to call up Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan too. Let's put the pressure on them. Let's put some pure pressure on them. Bring the Gardener on the show. All right. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon, and we'll get to our next one here.
Hey, man, it's Justin from Maryland. I want to get my thoughts on a couple of topics that's going on. So first, I wanted to touch on the Bray Wyatt, Bobby Lashley whole thing. Definitely disappointed. Like, when I saw the news, I was definitely, like, really disappointed because I'm a real Bray Wyatt fan. his return has been overwhelming since he returned. But, you know, we all love him. He has a good presence. So I'm just disappointed that, you know, we didn't get the run that we thought we would get. And then we were all hoping that we would get to see him and Roman, because, you know, Roman took a title off from all that. So there are a lot of things to look forward to. Just hope, you know, things get better and he comes back, things like that. 'Cause I definitely love seeing Bray Wyatt. I want to see him against Roman. I want to see him beat Roman. I want to see that whole storyline. So I just hope things, you know, get better for him. He comes back. So that leaves Bobby Lashley. So, like, the way I've been thinking, the only logical opponent for him is Bronson Reed. I don't think there's anybody else. Maybe AJ Styles, but he's been out for a while. So I feel like maybe he can do like an open challenge or something, or him and Brunson can just have an interaction. Because I'm not really sure what Lashley can really do at this point with like 2-3 weeks left. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that, you know, Bray Wyatt, you know, gets better, he comes back. And then the whole thing is like they never, like him and Lashley, like the match wasn't even ever announced officially yet. Even before it was announced he had to be out, they didn't even like announce the match yet. So that's just telling of what was going on. But hopefully things get better. Next, Roman Reigns. I really want to see him retain at WrestleMania. I saw something on Twitter where he still has opponents like Randy Orton, AJ Styles, maybe Bray Wyatt, you know, if he gets well. Still got to run the Seth Rollins program back, Jey Uso. Like, there are like a lot of opponents that Roman can face, you know, as champion. So I'm just not really, you know, I'm not saying I don't like Cody, but to me it's not believable that everyone knows from Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, like those guys couldn't beat Roman, but Cody Rhodes, who just came back, you know, he's only been back for like a couple of months, and then I don't know, like it just doesn't like feel.
Hey Justin, so yeah, based on your email, obviously, yeah, you got cut off, but so let's talk about a few things. Bray and Bobby. As you were talking, it made me realize, even those that are invested, like yourself, much more invested in Bray than I am. I don't dislike Bray. I think he adds a ton of value. He's got an unmatched presence on the microphone. I would not advocate for him being fired or anything like that. Is he the best in the ring? No, but that's never been his thing. That said, though, even just from a character perspective, from a storyline perspective, forget in-ring, that he has yet to show he can put on a good match, of which, by the way, he's had one, and it was like 5 minutes long. You know, with LA Knight. And LA Knight actually came out better than Bray did. That said, my point is that those that are more invested in the character than I am, and there's a lot of them, how are you not disincentivized at this point to invest time in the character? Because even if you're just looking at this from a storyline perspective, I don't imagine most people love the convolutedness of the story, the inconsistencies, the random things he's done, the Muscle Man dance, but then he's backstage watching himself on the Firefly Funhouse like he's a producer, bringing back the Firefly Funhouse even though we thought it was dead. You know, like all these things. And then Uncle Howdy's there. His mask changes. Uncle Howdy is Randy Orton. Uncle Howdy is, whoever. And it's like, then we just suddenly aren't supposed to care about the identity of Uncle Howdy. And then he attacks a cameraman, and no, that was never explained. But yet he's also Bray Wyatt. At this point, how is anybody not disincentivized to continue with investing themselves from a character perspective in Bray? It's got to be difficult. I've detached myself until he simplifies his character. Maybe it's because I'm simple-minded. I don't know. But I can't invest the energy into this because I've been shown it's not going to be rewarded, you know? So, and again, Bobby versus Bronson Reed, as you mentioned, I like that. I love that, actually. That the problem is, who would go over? If Bobby would take out Bronson, well, Bronson is kind of an up-and-comer. Maybe Bronson gets a shock victory over Bobby. That's because the finish on this one would really matter. But I love the outcome. I would love to have Bobby versus Bronson over Bray versus Bobby from an in-ring perspective. Obviously, Bray is a bigger star than Bronson, but from a wrestling perspective, you wouldn't have to worry about quality of the match. I don't think it'd be a little bit better. Now, lastly, about you, Roman Reigns still has opponents. That's exactly that's one of the biggest reasons, if not the biggest reason, to keep the belt on Roman, even beyond the 1,000 days, which I think they are married to at this point. Roman Reigns has a lot of stories he has yet to finish. And sure, he could compete with them outside of a championship, but the championship kind of is the story with some of these men. Again, you could have Sami Zayn get his revenge, and Sami Zayn could ultimately be the one to take out Roman at SummerSlam. Jey Uso could. But you're right, Jey still has yet to face Roman. I know he did a few years ago, but since then he's been loyal. Seth Rollins absolutely has a story with Roman Reigns here. Randy Orton absolutely has a story with Roman Reigns yet that they have to finish, since going back to last May when Randy got injured. Bray Wyatt, if he ever gets his head on straight, there's a story there because Bray is the one that lost to Roman to start the whole streak with the Universal Championship at SummerSlam in 2020. Roman Reigns has many more stories to finish with him as champion than does Cody, because like I said, okay, great, he went, like, then what? You can't just do it and that's the end game. Things have to continue, and it's much more interesting to have Roman as champion continue, I'm sorry, than it is as Cody, because okay, he has a fresh set of opponents, but like, Roman Reigns still has a lot of opponents to go before we call it a day. So, and they get past the 1,000 days and all that wonderfulness. So, to me, I'm leaning now today. Again, this could flip because it's from day to day. You can make arguments, but on March 16th, because I'm recording this now on a Thursday through the power and magic of editing, I would favor Roman Reigns significantly, not overwhelming, but like 60-40, I'd say Roman Reigns wins at Mania based on just that logic alone. So thanks so much, Justin. And let's get to our final voicemail.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I just wanted to ask a quick question or ask your thoughts, Matt, based on my email and based off the Raw review. Speaking about Asuka, I'm a little down and not interested either about, the whole build-up of the match. And to your point about Asuka being very limited on the mic, which we all know she is, why do you think WWE never gave her a manager mouthpiece to facilitate, that language barrier? That's all I wanted to ask there. For me, this storyline is basically like watching a movie with a bunch of plot holes in the storyline, and maybe would have an epic ending. So like this rivalry or this match doesn't have good storyline, but we know it's going to be a good from the in-ring point of view. So again, what do you think why WWE never gave her a mouthpiece throughout all these years? All right, later.
All right, Rocky T closing us out here. And I would say this, that Asuka probably never got a mouthpiece because I don't know the last time that a manager or a woman had a mouthpiece. When's the last time that happened? And who would that be? Plus, you have to look at the implications of today's culture. If it's a man, well, a man is speaking for a woman. Again, I'm not bringing politics in it, but that's the world we live in. That's the reality. I think WWE would get some backlash of, well, a man has to speak for a woman. You know I'm right. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. It's just the culture we're in, right? I think that's a problem. And also, I don't know, again, who is the last woman to have a mouthpiece? And then if you brought somebody in at this point, wouldn't that have shown that's, that would, I think, emphasize her weakness of like, oh, wow, now she has a mouthpiece. This is so much better. But it would be an admission of a weakness that Asuka has instead of her taking the initiative to, I don't know, learn the English language to communicate with her audience. Boy, what a revelation. But yeah, this is, I think, going to need this program, while it is just ridiculous on its face from a storyline perspective of building, like, sure, on paper, Asuka and Bianca is a great match. From an in-ring perspective, it's going to be good to very good. And I have no problem with that. No problems. Great. But from a storyline, it has been just completely just underwhelming vanilla. And I don't know what Asuka is. Is she a babyface? Is she not? This story, as you said, is going to have to help itself out at the finish of WrestleMania, because most people going in are like, I don't know who to cheer for. This is weird. There's going to be a turn one way or the other, whether it's Bianca turning heel or it's Asuka turning heel. Like solidly is the word I was going for. Solidified as a heel, because Asuka is kind of like teetered for a while. She turned on her tag team opponents a number of weeks ago. Like, they need to do something with this finish other than a clean, Bianca retains and then we move on with our lives. No, I think there needs to be, in order for us to care about this, it needs to be a finish that's hot and it's noteworthy, not just kind of like, oh, okay, well, that was just a typical Raw match. Bianca retains and that's it. no, you're right. There needs to be something coming out of this. Otherwise, I don't know what they were doing. They were just like, I don't know. You're right. So thanks, Rocky. I appreciate it. Appreciate the work you've done with Mr. Gross. And I appreciate everybody coming on today and writing in, taking the time to email us, taking the time to call. And I do appreciate it, as I am about to ride off into the sunset here, literally. I'm about to get myself together and head to the airport. Yeah, I did this last second. So thanks, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. Continue to support the show. Give us a 5-star rating. Head to patreon.com/WWE podcast for an ad-free experience. Go to Apple Podcasts and get yourself ad-free, or WWEpodcast.com and go VIP there. That said, guys, I'll be back when I'm back. It may happen over the next few days. It may not. I don't know. But I will continue to publish our co-hosts' material even while I'm on vacation for you guys. So thanks so much for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.